Now crossing live to the Vice President of the Asian Century Philippines Strategic Studies, Anna Malindog-Uy, now joining us here on RT International. Anna, a great pleasure to get you on the program. Thank you so much for your time today. You just heard me speaking to our previous guest, Vice President Sara Duterte, addressing her supporters, calling for the International Criminal Court to stop the persecution of her father. What is, Anna, your reaction to this, please?
Thank you, Rory, for inviting me to your program. Yes, I agree with the Vice President Sara Duterte that, the former President Duterte should be released from the ICC because precisely, first and foremost, the whole thing, especially when you talk about the arrest, was really an affront to our sovereignty as a country, since we are not anymore party to the Rome Statute, and we are not anymore a part of the ICC. So that is basically an affront to our sovereignty. And I think the procedure in terms of how they have done the arrest was also very also illegal, and there were a lot of mistakes in there and not so good. So I think that is partly the reason why the former president should be released by the ICC. And one more thing that is very important, the former President Rodrigo Duterte is already very old. I think he is running at around 81 years old already by this year. So I think there are also medical concerns. So I think, I really hope that the ICC would release him soon.
Yeah, fair enough. I mean, look, at the end of the day, The Hague, well, it's rarely indicted a Western official, and 23 years of work. Some people have called that body a weapon of colonialism, or a weapon to be used as an instrument against, as some people call, developing nations. Some people saying The Hague is compromised. I don't know. Your thoughts on that, Anna?
Yes, I think so. Because if you really look at the ICC, they just, focus on countries that are developing or least developed countries, but they cannot even get a hold of countries that are backed up by superpower like Israel. Look at what is happening now to Netanyahu. Even the United States imposed sanction on the ICC, not necessarily because the United States believe in the ICC or that it is an arm of justice or whatsoever. It's precisely because the ICC is after Netanyahu, and then because of that, they impose a sanction. But look, what is the ICC doing about the case of Netanyahu? It cannot even get a hold of Netanyahu. So basically, the ICC has this selective justice and more focus on African state or developing countries that are not as strong as countries that are backed up by superpower like the United States. So I do believe in that.
Yeah, well, Rodrigo Duterte accused of perpetrating crimes against humanity, Anna. That's the label the West and political opponents have branded his war against the drug cartels. I mean, I remember the war on drugs. I remember when he was at the helm. A lot of these drug cartels had some of the most sophisticated weapons in the world. These were violent criminal gangs, and Duterte took a hard line against them. The question is, why was he prosecuted and persecuted for that? Anna, I remember some years ago when John Kerry was the former U.S. Secretary of State. He flew into Manila. He had dinner with the then President Duterte. At the end of dinner, Duterte came out and said, that guy John Kerry gave me a suitcase with $700,000 telling me to do this, do this, do this, and I told him to get lost. Do you think that might have been a turning point in the relationship between Manila and Washington, or that maybe there's more to it?
Yes, I think so, because during the time of former President Duterte presidency, he really pushed forward with what you call independent foreign policy, that we have a balanced relation between different major powers in the world. We have good relation with Russia. We had good relation with the United States to certain extents, though we don't agree with the United States during that time that, dictating what we have to do as a sovereign state, and we have good relation with China. So I think the United States during that time really cannot control or heavily influence our foreign policy during the Duterte's time as president. So I think this is one reason probably that's why at the when you talk about the ICC case, I do believe that a superpower like the United States has a hands on this, but I'm not really saying that it's under Trump at 2.0 administration. And on the other hand, let's just point one more thing very crucial with regard to this issue. One important thing that the world has to know, during Duterte time, the drug war, or what you call the fight against illegal drugs, there was no directive to attack or even to kill civilian. It was a legitimate police action. Any countries in the world would want to preserve your country from any kind of criminal sectors or criminal elements in your country, and even especially drug lords, you really have to be strong and to show to the drug lords that the state is strong enough to curb and to fight against illegal drugs. I think that was the point. Not necessarily like the case against the former president, that, crime against humanity. That's really far-fetched to be very frank.
It's ridiculous. There's Duterte getting persecuted by the West for going after these really bad drug cartels in the Philippines. This is essentially a war against the drug cartels, but America can have a war on terror, giving it carte blanche to go into any single country it deems to be a host of so-called terrorists.
Double standard.
Yeah, double standards, Anya. And I also wanted to mention, I worry about the Philippines because the Philippines are kind of caught in the crosshairs here. We know that America, we know NATO is wanting to spread to the Far East. We know that Washington has its eyes on China. We know that Washington is trying to renovate a military base in the Philippines right now. America sees the Philippines as a geostrategic, advantageous position in its potential future war against China. The Philippines right now, is it caught in the middle of this, do you think?
Yes, very much. I would agree with you, Rory, on that note, precisely because our foreign policy, as pointed out by our vice president when she attended the rally to call for the release of her father in Seoul in South Korea, she pointed out that we need to have an independent foreign policy in the Philippines that is based on our constitution. As you can see under Marcos Jr., our foreign policy is not neutral. We don't have strategic leverage. We don't have strategic autonomy. It's very much leaning and influence towards the United States. And one thing that you have to know in terms of militarization, it is indeed true that our country is now being militarized by the United States vis-a-vis against China. We're like a pawn in the Asia Pacific of the United States. Manifestations of this is, first and foremost, we have the EDCA sites, or what you call U.S. military bases, all placed strategically across the Philippines, facing Taiwan Strait, and facing the South China Sea, which is a very high level tension-driven areas. The second one is the deployment of the Typhoon missile system by the Americans. We have military boots on the ground by the Americans. We have deployment of high-level military assets. We also have right now what you call the plan of Pentagon to establish what you call ammunition hub or ammunition factory in Subic, which is a very, very controversial and a very sensitive issue, precisely because the Philippines will be an extension of the military-industrial complex of the United States, and we will be really entrenched in what you call U.S. security architecture and military architecture in the Asia-Pacific vis-a-vis China, and I don't think that is good for my country. If you describe the country, Rory, as a pawn or caught in the middle between the strategic rivalry of these two giants, China and the United States, very much. But with all of this development, we're not just caught in between. We're actually right now literally a forward base of the United States in the Asia Pacific when you talk about defense and military.
Yeah, I tell you, I would love to see you say that on Sky or Fox or CNN, because they would cut your signal after about 10 seconds. Anna Malindog-Uy is the vice president of the Asian Century Philippines Strategic Studies Institute. My goodness me, dropping one truth bomb after another. What an enlightening conversation. Anna, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you so much, Rory.
Thank you. Have a nice day.